Well, now we're back on the Cliff Lifts webinar, and tonight I have special guest Rion Williams, who is an old friend of mine who spoke at one of my conventions many years ago, and who has been, tremendously successful with women and in life in general. Rion, why don't you tell everybody who's listening to this a little bit about yourself and your history. Give them a bit of introduction to people who never heard of you or don't know anything about you.
Okay, thanks for having me, Cliff. I do remember we go back quite a ways, and that's amazing. So, yeah, I'm Rion, and I really struggled with women, kind of in a different sense. I remember being in college, university, and I couldn't understand the behavior of women. Sometimes I'd be dating one or three women, and then I'd have like these dry spells. And it really kind of frustrated me, the behavior of women. And at one point it got so bad that I'm like, I really reached this bottom of the barrel type experience. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And it was like that deep emotional moment that kind of shifted things when I look at it. And that's kind of, we see that with a lot of men who like really make a significant change. And so I've been on a journey since then. And I was actually, a David D'Angelo student, if you will. But I had my own success with women before that, where the pattern would continue, where I'd be dating like three women. And I was known as like the ladies guy when I was in the US military, like in my platoon. But then I'd have these dry spells again. And so I had this one significant breakthrough, which kind of changed my life and ushered me into like, the dating industry in 2005. And that's when I met you, was like a month after that. And it's been continually evolving since then. And I really represent natural everything, natural game, if you will. So just here to share some more. It's been quite a few years now where things have really just been evolving into ridiculous ways in areas that are super natural, even, if you will, like supernatural. So we can talk about some of that stuff. Yeah, I love women, so.
Okay, yeah. So you've been, I guess you've been coaching guys these days, or what specifically have you been doing? Have you got what exactly have you been doing with guys in general, basically?
Yeah, I've done like in-field immersion coaching, as well as like the information products for dating. For years, I've been doing these live transformational experiences or retreats for men, in countries around the world and stuff, in US, like Chicago, LA, Atlanta. And we have these powerful transformational experiences. So a lot of the men, it started out with really the desire to get better with women. And then my own kind of work really kind of evolved into healing and sex transmutation and working with Chinese grandmasters with energy. And I still have that value of connection with women. And, so I'm helping men out to really get aligned with their own life path and purpose, as well as really being more sexually comfortable and confident with women, changing their paradigm of sexual attraction from fantasy into physical attraction and success. And we have thousands of men around the world that are doing this one practice I discovered called natural grounding. Some might have heard of it who are listening to this. If not, that's something we can talk about more as well. Like daily testimonials, people are doing it, all this crazy attraction, just around the world. So I'm glad to be able to have that men can use. That is just really awesome. So
My impression of you is that what you do with guys is a more holistic sort of approach, where you're sort of dealing with the whole person rather than just his issues with women. Would that be accurate?
sex is a powerful force. So to answer your question, it is a bit more of a holistic approach. The main thing we've boiled it down to, that I've discovered in working with men through the years, is there are three primary motivations of transformation: sex, purpose, and freedom. So I've kind of been working with purpose and sex as this great catalyzing force to shift within men. So it kind of goes deeper than his personal beliefs or affirmations. It's really like these deeper driving subconscious values of purpose, freedom, or sex that gives him the power to change his reality, no matter how deep or dark it's been, no matter how stuck in fantasy he is. So there's a lot of power with the subconscious and the force of sex. So when a man can align that, which I've helped men to like realign themselves with seduction, really this enlightened process, this energetic communication of the masculine and feminine within the man and the woman. Once he realigns to flirting and women being open and into him, instead of necessarily being the chasing, needy pursuer, and there are ways to directly connect with women, of course, with power, but it's really about that subconscious alignment where sex equals fun, sex is flirting. That's what starts the physical relationship, because there's so much confusion about sex equals porn, sex equals fantasy, sex equals sex in advertising. And the subconscious believes that that's what sex is because it feels good and the orgasmic energy is so strong. So a man can continue to attract this stuff. Sex equals when I'm married, sex equals courtship, sex equals immoral sin. All of these programs could be in a man's subconscious. So I like to work like on the deeper level with these powers of mostly sex, but purpose gives him like an ability to have something more important than women. That's one of the big secrets of the most successful men, is they have the power to walk away from a woman. And so we can talk about that as well.
Yes, well, that I think is a key theme with a lot of guys. That it's the ability to walk away is absolutely a critical mindset. Um, maybe you can go into about how you sort of look at that and how you sort of propose it to guys.
Yeah, and Brent Smith, who we both know, a lot of people know him, just a legend. The subject of indifference, but really it's this power to walk away from a woman from a traditional pickup artist standpoint. That's a little confusing because it's about we're going out to approach, to connect with women, to get numbers. It's really about how I view it is this subconscious paradigm, the dynamic. For example, if a man believes sex equals basically associated with the woman's sex, like her pussy, or when I sleep with her, if we can say pussy on pussless.
No problem.
All right. That's what the man believes, is this next woman, this next hottie has this power of sex. So she has the ability to reject him, to take it away. So since she has the power and he can't validate that he has sex until he would sleep with her, then he's stuck kind of playing this numbers game of essentially trying to get lucky. That's one perspective with it, where once he validates that he's slept with enough women, then he can view himself as having sex. So the presence, the state of a man who is going out with sex equals when I sleep with her, sex equals when I, you know, have that experience physically with her, they're coming from a place of not having sex. And that is needy and sometimes creepy to women, because it basically says, no matter what his communication otherwise, it says, I need your sex to confirm that I'm confident and worthy. And so it's like sex equals pussy, and women sense this about men, that when they approach, even if they're trying to be indifferent or whatever, it never really works or connects, because his sub communication is, I need your sex. And the next hottie comes along, and then he becomes non-consciously triggered into valuing her body. We've talked for years about the Pavlovian stimulus response conditioning that society, media, advertising does, that puts pussy on a pedestal. So a woman has all of this social power and value. But to make that shift, it's understanding, well, what if sex could be something else? That you could still approach and socialize and connect and meet women, but instead of sex being my personal selfish desire to get something to fulfill a void, it's kind of like sex equals pussy, and a man shows up, I want sex selfishly, and he's like blowtorching the lotus flower. But when the man has the power to walk away from a woman, when something is more important than the need to validate himself with her sex, then the lotus petal can open up around the space of that man, his presence. So what can give the man that power to walk away? Well, most pickup artists are stuck in, sex equals pussy. And once I sleep with her or this woman or a 9 or a 9.3, whatever, then it confirms that I have sex. But so they continue the cycle for years, not having sex. So that's why it takes years so they're kind of stuck in the path from my experience and perspective. When a man can shift much, much, much faster, the thing is, it's got to be the real thing, because women will test you. And it's more to talk about once you get into the socially accepted level of 9s and above, you're really dealing with a woman's social power. So there's a gap between men who would be like 7s and the 9s and 10s. A lot of the PUA approach was to nag her, to bring her down off the social pedestal. What if there was another way of accepting yourself as a 9 and getting into like a passion, a purpose, a hobby where you have a different energy, where you're serving the world? That's that rock star charisma that men can have. But the pickup artists and most men have this selfish personal field to fulfill a woman, to have that sex. Like once they have that experience, that's kind of a giving, leechy kind of energy. And the hotter women especially, they're really sensitive to that. But when a guy can go through a shift, with something that can give him the power, purpose, a passion, a hobby, that becomes more important than the need to have that validation from her, bam, then he can be cool around women without this intention or expectation of outcome. He can just be cool. And that's what you see about kind of who are the men who hang out with the hottest women. They're usually cool guys. The women can trust them to not, be all needing an outcome and stuff. But then the sexual energy can run. So there's more we can talk about here. Just direct it.
Well, I guess I'm curious. I'm sure you meet a lot of guys who I would say that they're a couple of steps away from being able to sort of hold their value and walk away. And I'm wondering how you bring them up to speed. Basically, what have you learned from experience about helping guys who are too shy and too have got sort of a weak power perspective in terms of their own where they see themselves?
Yeah, my outlook to that is to get some more awareness. There's like a free report I released called Sexual Reality. And it, just to overview it, we could value it as different levels of sexual experience. For example, apathy, and then it goes up. Unnatural, passive, unnatural, active. Unnatural active would be like an active PUA. And then purgatory, and then pre-natural, natural, awakened natural. So a man can realize that it's not actually him. He has attachment to his identity, which makes it more difficult to actually transform when he realizes that there's a different experience out there, that instead of being an unnatural, passive, improving himself in other areas of life, and then women never notice, and he's stuck in this cycle of they never notice me, I'm in a fantasy, and I want things to work. That, like in the PDF, Sexual Reality, like you can actually see the characteristics and, oh, this is what it's like at this level. So as you disassociate from your paradigm of reality, you can see what it's like to be a pre-natural, because this guy, okay, he gets nervous anxiety only around like 9s or so, but he can almost always get a date if he wants to. And the natural has this powerful personal reality. He's physically comfortable and confident, and, you know, apathy. And then that's an experience. It's not your identity, to the men who are listening. So you have the ability to change your experience. So to do that, I like to work on the most powerful levels, which is really the subconscious. And what is sex is one of the most powerful questions that you could ask. So it's not about more actions or more approaching. It's about making a more powerful paradigm shift. And then practically, I've taught for years and lived this myself, you only have to do 100 approaches to master to cure approach anxiety, and to like just master that anytime, comfort and confidence, along with like this more powerful paradigm shift where sex equals something else, where you're getting in alignment with serving the world or pursuing a passion, something more important than her pussy or the need for it. So that then you realize that sex is connection. It's this yin and yang balance, the masculine and feminine energies. You could be fulfilled with sex, so you don't need it or have to get it from a woman. If sex was the connection, the life force that already was, what if you were sex all of this time? And that may sound crazy, but it's a paradigm shift. Well, because Ryan Gosling, he's sex. Elvis Presley was sex. Why? Because they're more connected to source. So when a man can find more reason to have this metaphysical power and influence, which women have, that's the whole thing here. That's like the awareness of the game or the illusion of social dynamics. When a woman uploads a photo to Instagram, she's already gone metaphysical. That means beyond the physical one-on-one influence. She has that power. Kim Kardashian, massive social power. How can a man even compare to that when the average 7 can take on this value? And I've heard this so many times from men, is they'll act like they're all hot and stuff. What requires a paradigm shift to really like have power yourself is to accept that these are social dynamics, and that you can accept a woman for her social power while having this sexual alignment with what works in the physical world. So natural grounding, I know I'm like flowing with a bunch of stuff here, but natural grounding realigns a man's subconscious to flirting, which is what starts physical relationships. Her flirting in a man, not this prick tease, bending over and stuff. That's what the game conditions you. That leads to more fantasy. If you want more of the real thing, realize, well, wait a minute. Do I actually value fantasy or the physical reality with women? And then it's like, okay, then there's things you can do that will start that physical attraction. So natural grounding is that free method that men can use to really get more of that natural confidence and flirting from women to get more dates and more attraction and making out and all the good stuff. So I like the paradigm shift, but I'm also incredibly practical with it. And of course, there's natural strategy, including managing multiple women, hosting house parties, things like that to get into, but without having that deeper paradigm shift to really be present and able to meet a woman at her level of power, then there's still going to be this disconnect, and then he's going to be stuck in the cycle of fantasy. So much of that comes to acceptance, being in sexual polarity, so a woman can feel a gut feeling around yourself. That can be developed and cultivated, natural grounding, and there's more advanced techniques with it. And then another process I call Western natural grounding, which helps a man relieve and like dissolve his projections towards people of power, status, and beauty. Once he clears out his energy field and stops consciously or non-consciously judging them, then the cool people can accept him. He's cool. So it removes that barrier that he's been bringing to these hot women because they have such social power. So instead of judging them or trying to bring them down with an agenda, once you can really accept their social power, it's really a self-reflection of yourself. So you become this much cooler, more acceptable guy that women can trust to hang out with. And then whatever sexual energy is running, then you can just facilitate the next level. And I know we can talk like more about logistics and stuff like that too, but I really love like the paradigm frame stuff, because without it, then they're coming from that kind of needy place of wanting to get that fulfillment. So I like to work on the profound levels, and I've seen miraculous shifts in men with this stuff. So yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the natural grounding and sort of what you find sort of really stimulates these paradigm shifts.
Oh yeah. David D'Angelo, Evan, he kind of asked me about that at the Man Transformation in LA. It was something about that. And once men realize that, it's kind of like we're in this social matrix of Western programming and power. And a lot of American and Canadian men, they don't like really see outside of that because they're just like in the matrix. What has changed my life and men's lives is to realize that it's kind of like we live in what one of my kind of students, he's a coach like on his own, he realized that it's really like, and I love the terms he used, we live in a porn culture or a tease culture. And when men become aware that around the world there is something you could call a flirt culture, where this behavior of women, it's natural, it's warm, it's fun, it's responsive. And this is such a deep issue, Cliff, because this like is so real and pervasive, how today's women, they can be independent, icy, and then have all this social value. And men are so confused. What can change things is understanding that there are women that in the world, this energy, it's not about this other culture is better or anything like that, because it's this one universal feminine spirit, if you will. But it's this natural energy of a woman that nurtures, that flirts. That's what starts physical relationships. So with the social matrix, put pussy on a pedestal, have her be icy and cold and dismissive of men. And I mean, there's so many lyrics and advertising all support this reality. TV shows where the guy's this bumbling idiot. So it's like these sexual polarity dynamics have shifted, where the woman has so much power, but the thing is, she's out of her own sexual alignment. So it's up to a man to somehow get back in realignment, to know what a woman's healthy, expressive femininity is. Natural grounding introduces that, this awareness of a natural alpha. That's what I've called it years ago, because we have these independent alphas like Angelina Jolie, and so forth. And social alphas. You can start naming them. I used to say like Christina Aguilera, she's still around, Britney Spears, like these social alpha models of female behavior. So what changed my life and what's been changing men's life is this awareness that outside of our social matrix, there is something we can call a natural alpha. And if some men have traveled to other countries, Brazil, Southeast Asia area, Eastern Europe, they might start realizing, well, wait a minute, the women are, I feel comfortable, I feel confident around the women who are responsive and interested in relationships and open, and just things just work and it's natural. So with natural grounding, it's kind of realigning that sexual polarity, that attraction force, that magnetic attraction force of the masculine and the feminine is like this magnetism. So, natural grounding, it's done miracles. I mean, there's so many stories I keep hearing just recently, and then we can talk about like the no FAP thing. There's a community, I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but we can talk about that too, where porn just really has this grip on so many men. Well, natural grounding has cured men of porn addiction and set their dating lives on fire, because it's giving them this awareness that, whoa, wait a minute, a woman's sexuality isn't just this prick teasing thing where I go into a conditioned response and then I feel out of control and I want that body. It's actually something entirely different, where sexuality is a woman flirting with you. And then when you're in that dynamic on a date, socially, and you don't need an outcome from her, then things just like, there's so much just connection that things can get so physical, just naturally, without game, without effort or anything like that. Because that's the greater truth, is everything is connection. And it really is at the deeper level, this masculine and feminine balance. So questions or, go ahead.
Well, I guess I was curious about, you mentioned this no FAP thing. I wasn't too familiar with that. And then certainly I think connection is a very key concept when it comes to getting involved with a woman. Is there any particular methods that you maybe steer your the guys who come to talk to you and learn from you into improving their ways of connecting with women?
Yeah, I recommend natural grounding, and then there's a lot of other supportive, powerful techniques that a man can do. A lot of men have asked about meditation. That can really help to like silence the ego clutter. The only thing is, when you're learning from like meditation masters, Zen meditation, like Eckhart Tolle, he's not necessarily sexual. So natural grounding, along with different embodiments or energy exercises, like no FAP means like no masturbation, and there's different classifications of that. But where I'm into Tao sex alchemy, where you are sustaining the sexual energy and separating ejaculation from orgasm. So I've gone 2 months without having an ejaculation, but I can still experience orgasms. So that helps you to have more sexual power within you, and that helps you to make transformations faster as well. Now, a magic thing that's been practically working for a lot of men recently and in the past is doing natural grounding, where it's basically like this free video kind of experience with natural feminine women in music video, but it just does like magic. So they're doing natural grounding with no FAP. So without masturbating, and definitely not masturbating to porn, what they're doing is having more sexual energy, and now their subconscious is valuing what starts physical relationships, which is a woman flirting. So they do natural grounding, and they go out to meet women or just interact during the day, and they see, oh, hey, women are flirting, things are actually opened up, there's more attraction, and all of this. To get more advanced with it, I'm doing like powerful energy healing and transformational work with Qigong and Reiki. So you can work in different ways with your energy body to ground yourself much faster, to have more power and presence with a woman. And sexual presence is really, it comes down to sexual presence, because a man, when he's thrown off into fantasy around a beautiful woman, when he's approaching a woman, when he's socializing with a beautiful woman, if he goes into fantasy, I've had it where some men, I've seen them where they're a couple seconds ahead of time, but they're not fully like in the moment, like they want to take her somewhere, but really they're more comfortable fantasizing about the idea with her instead of just fully being with her and meeting her at her level of power and beauty. So it's not about like even a linear timeline of transformation. It's about more powerfully being here in the moment, the power of now, but then having and cultivating more of this sexual rock star energy and presence. And the main key to that for men is really finding their passion or purpose. And rock stars, movie stars, they have this energy because they're serving others, and it's in alignment with what they're supposed to do. So then the lotus petal around that type of man can open up and bloom, it can blossom, but because he's not blowtorching her with his selfish desires subconsciously. So you'll see this, some men, they can't figure it out. Like, how is that guy, he's not doing anything. Well, he believes something else about sex and sexuality, and he has the power to walk away from her. So when you really have that power, and here's the question for each man is, what level of beauty would you not be able to walk away from? So if you want to transform yourself faster, have a really powerful like passion or purpose where you could walk away from a Scarlett Johansson and the world of women is going to open up with you. And women will test you, because sometimes the possibility of the ideal relationship or the perfect woman, I would, men's magazines, they support this. We would cut off our left testicle to have one night with this starlet or whatever. What's more important than having that? That actually gives you the power with women. So it's for men to like discover that and then to own that. And then you can still be social and have a thriving dating life, but you're coming from a reality where, you can experience the physical connection of the fulfillment that you already are. So you don't need sex to fulfill you. Sex becomes possibly your connection to life force itself, which is very spiritual. And so that's what I've been in for years, but it's also very, very practical. It gives you that beyond personal influence, that like the rock star energy and charisma, which is really, everyone wants to sleep with celebrities. And the thing is, it's so sexy because they're closest to that inception point of new life. They're the most like biologically, socially guaranteed that life will continue is people who have that much power. Everyone wants to sleep with them. Well, you can have that power as well when you get in alignment with what is my greater purpose. How can I serve the world? That's the leverage to actually open up a thriving dating life, is not just to keep gaming women, but to make that internal shift. And that can really do miracles. And you'll see like women, they just start, like everything just starts opening up. And you don't have to keep gaming. You can have a social strategy or lifestyle. But, so that's the stuff I'm into and working with men on and stuff. So, yeah.
That's good. Tell me, like, where do you sort of, you mentioned about dating multiple women, and I was just curious a little bit about your views on relationships. Do you, what's your sort of beliefs in those directions? I mean, do you get involved with one woman at a time? Do you do you keep yourself always single? I mean, what's your approach for that? And I guess how do you coach guys about some things like that when they ask you?
Yeah. Um, I am very, very single. I'm not really much about attachment to the idea of a monogamous relationship. My primary relationship, to go metaphysical again for a second here, is with Goddess, or this feminine spirit herself, which gives me, in a way, unlimited power with women physically. And as a healer myself, I'm able to do like really insane stuff. Um, but let's go back to the question, what was the question again? Sorry.
Well, basically, I was asking you more about your thoughts on relationships and
Right.
dating. And I also you mentioned dating multiple women. So obviously, if you're very single, that's
Yeah.
something you're open to, clearly.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's how I usually do it. And Brent has like one of my favorite quotes is, "You might have to start inviting them over in groups." And so that's what I've been doing. I don't always do that, but I'm almost always dating multiple women when I am dating. Um, I do have a long-term open relationship, so that's there. Um, but yeah, it's just dating multiple women. I recommend, like, some men, like, they get attached to this one woman and stuff without really exploring and knowing what would really things be like or what they really want. I think it is about connection, but you got to experience each other. Most men go about dating of, they have these projections and expectations, and that can actually shoot them in the foot for the relationship, because a lot of women, they'll have projections and expectations about relationships. Mostly what I've been about is natural, fun, social, casual dating, dating multiple women. And with that, I'm giving them the unconditional liberty to also have as much fun and freedom as I'm having. I don't have double standards. And when a man can own that, a woman can be as sexually or socially free as she wants to, and you wouldn't judge her. That's a very high level of reality. So then these women will open up to you more, because you're not like judging them for being sexual or anything. And unfortunately, our societies just, they're not at that level of respect for a woman's sexuality or acceptance of it. But when you can really have that a woman could be as free as she wants to, and you're not going to judge her or anything, then she's going to be more open and sexual with you when you're the real thing. But yeah, I love dating multiple women, and sometimes it's, that it was actually a woman who had the idea, and then it was me and two really hot women, and then that's happened all kinds of times. House parties, me and three women, me and four women, me and another guy, and like two or more women. So house parties are just this amazing thing in the way that I do them, that you can really get like new girlfriends out of one party. And so we could talk more about that if you want, but yeah, I'm all about like consent. Everything is consensual always, but there's so much fun that you can have, and the freer and more accepting, the more sexual you are, that you're giving that liberty to women to have that experience with you, but you don't need it though. So she can, in your environment, the more freedom and space you're giving women, they could go to no limits with you, because you're that deep and that high sexually, spiritually, emotionally. That's just amazing when you can provide that space for a woman, because most men are like this personal, needy field, and a lot of men, they're walking on eggshells with a really, really beautiful woman, or one they project might be the one. They don't want to screw it up. So then they're like holding back and reserving, or going out on 5 or 6 dates and they haven't kissed yet, trying to make things, make sure it works. But then things usually don't work, and the connection kind of dissipates. So
Well, I guess you got my curiosity up about the house parties. Maybe you can tell me how you set those things up and what sort of structure you have for them, and how you end up with a couple of girlfriends out of each one.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it kind of stems back to that one um, Rick H and Brent video that David D'Angelo had, um, where like he Rick H met this woman with the airplane thing or whatever, and then they took a bunch of girls out to a restaurant or whatever, just having fun. And so it was that kind of was the initial like inception point for me. And then one girl, I thought I was meeting the other girl, and she saw I was confused, and she's like, invite her over. Then it was me and two girls, and the dynamic was just amazing. And so I've been doing that ever since. So house parties, wow. It's a different style that I do it, because some guys are thinking, okay, like college frat parties or something where it's so social and it's just there's so many people over. I'm talking about having a dynamic where there's equal or more women than men, and keeping it small. So really like less than 7 people. A couple times it's gone over that, but I recommend the smaller dynamic if men want to, just have fun, living a lifestyle, allowing women to have fun, and possibly getting new girlfriends out of it. So the key with it is that's really important to have like that equal balance of men. So really just you and a guy friend, and then 2 or more women. That's the dynamic. A key thing with that is that the women don't know each other. So really often a girl will bring a girlfriend, but then ideally like to have like one other girl or another set of girls in the social mix. And the thing with this style of house party, and I remember like, I don't know what I shared of that because I spoke at the Montreal Lair the same night as Papa. Remember that, Cliff?
That's going back a long time.
Yeah. I don't remember what I shared then about it, but yeah, it's been thriving like ever since. Like once you know how to do it, you can replicate it like anywhere. And it's really a social thing. So you're being the host, you're not being the guy who is attached to hoping this one girl likes you. You're just being in the host mode. And that's kind of also the real magic secret with this, is you're being an authentically cool guy that women can hang out with. And it's actually very natural to get them over to your place. And I realized that, like in Kiev, Ukraine once, I was with this girl, and then there was this other girl, and I wasn't, like I don't really speak Ukrainian or Russian, so I just put the girl on the phone to talk with the other girl, and then she's like, come on over. So it's this social dynamic. So you don't got to even worry about things being like weird, as long as you're not like weird with things and you're just in this social mode. Then it's like, come on over. It's just a party. There's no expectations. You're providing that space of freedom and fun. And that's the key word, is fun. And I'm more likely to do Elmo voices with women than when I'm like teaching men and stuff. But sometimes at my events, they get Elmo, Arnold, So you're having fun being the social host. There's these women that don't know each other, and they get to see you as a social alpha. And whatever sexual energy is there, whatever chemistry, you're just allowing it to naturally process without expectations. And so the women, like, so many times, like, they'll just start dancing when there's no music. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I just love like hosting these little house parties. So it's usually less than 7 people is what you want. If it's just you, then yes, you can invite like different women over, but you got to be comfortable with that, like being the host. It's not like date mode or relationship mode with expectations. You're just being the social host. And again, it's pretty natural. It's like, hey, we're, having a little soiree, small little party, come on over, bring a girlfriend. A lot of this you can do with texting and stuff, to invite different girls whose numbers you have over to your place. And then out of that experience, remember, you're just like being a host. You're not even necessarily trying to follow up with any of them. The dynamics of them seeing you around other women, just like stuff's going to happen. And if you're present, if you're being a social alpha mode, just being your real fun self, which is something that might be a step for a lot of men to get into. But when you can do that, and if that's really an issue, then start with women who maybe aren't as attractive, but that you're more comfortable with. So you could start there. And from that, then let them follow up with you. Like, you don't have to reach out again, just whatever women like reach back out to you. Then you can set up like a one-on-one date. Now, sometimes one of them might end up staying over that night, after everyone else is gone, type of a thing. But that's the thing, you're not like trying to make sure it works out with this one. You're just being present and fun. And sometimes they might just, once everyone else leaves, she might just rip your clothes off like in 20 seconds, like in the bedroom. Things like that are possible, we'll just say. So,
Well, that's pretty good possibility. You had said something earlier that I guess I wanted to follow up on, take maybe a little bit of a detour here. You'd mentioned like insane stuff happening and healing, and I noticed, you've been experimenting, I guess, with Reiki and other probably energetic teachings. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, and maybe some of your more extraordinary experiences that you've had with these things.
Yeah. So I'm also into Tantra now. I'm on the path to certification. I have like my first level certification. So I'm also becoming a Daka, like it's like an ancient sexual healer for women. Energy work. So like I've already had it where I'm giving a woman like energetic orgasms, like with touching her, but then also just moving the energy from like moving it through her body and her chakras and stuff. It's just, there's stuff that's so powerful out there. So I've had like all kinds of experiences really stepping into the role like as a healer, working with dancers, actresses, performance artists, with energy consulting. That's really like what I'm getting into in alignment with my path and purpose. So sexually, there's so much power and so many experiences that can happen. So to be in the role and space of a healer requires a lot of self-work and trust. I've been through a lot of like spiritual and psychic and different battles and so forth that have like forged my character. But there's so many sexual experiences that have happened that are just, it's like the stuff of dreams. And you realize we're actually on this earth. It is like a playground once you get rid of your own judgments, to realize that women can be that sexually free. And then to get more into the spirituality of sex and, East and West. And there's so much power and healing power and bliss. Yeah. So, there's been so many experiences like with women, and it's just, it's like living a fantasy. And, I usually shy away like from actual examples because of discretion and stuff. I've kind of battled that because I'm this living paradox that people see, like I am a healer for women, but there's no conflict within me because I am that sexual and I am that physical as well. So I'm giving women that liberty to be as wildly sexual themselves. But some people will project onto that, because I support goddess and diva and her healing, her awakening. Not all men have to get to a certain level as a healer or ever become like a healer. Working with energy and chakras and emotional releasing and the the sacred spot massage and things like that is not even necessary. There's tantric techniques that you can just have fun with. And one of the big ones for me was being able to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And what I'm doing now is I'm coming up with a new program that teaches energy healers advanced techniques to really powerfully move energy within themselves. And one of the most amazing things is that we can actually alter our presence by working energetically. So I've done with men, facilitated sometimes miraculous healing, anti-aging in 15 minutes, 15 years. This one guy at the LAX. Now, not everyone's at that level of stress or readiness, but I swear you could look at his before and after, and you would see, and we didn't get a before picture, but the men there saw that. So I'm working on his energy for 15 minutes, and he was totally different. Women are he was really older and stressed out, and I've done this with the male clients, just anti-age them 10, 15 years. I've seen it before, within minutes, and that's releasing years of stress that's stored in the bodies. So that's really some amazing stuff. And being able to, there's so many examples of that. When I'm doing the hot seat work energetically with a man, opening up his heart center or getting the frozen, numb sexual energy moving in his lower chakras. That type of work it's faster, it's more powerful because we're working on that source level itself. So someone could spend years doing affirmations, and in 3 minutes I could work on their lower chakra because of my connection and experience, and open up energy there. And then women are going to start noticing him and feeling his sexual energy for the first time, where before it was numb and closed off type of a thing. And we've seen it where the presence actually transforms. The first woman I did healing on was actually kind of its own miracle. Her mother, I worked because she had she was a model, celebrity hairstylist, and so I did energy work on her in a follow-up session in exchange for a haircut, and she's a friend now and stuff. And so the story with her briefly is that when I worked on her body, she had this hard edge, projection from the personal third chakra. So a lot of men can face that, from a woman, she's testing you. She has this strong presence type of a thing. And, we talked about her modeling and the intent of opening up more of the free flowing energy instead of coming across as so harsh. And so she agreed to it. And so I worked on her energy body, the third chakra, the personal center, and the heart. And what happened was, after that session, later that day or the next day, her mother reconnected with her, out of the blue. And that was such a major thing. And then she signed $1 million contract. And then she had this beautiful baby, and she was in a relationship with a boyfriend, and that happened recently. And so my work with women is really just beginning. I've founded it, but that's one of the things that I'm really meant to do. So for men, it's what could be more important than just gaming women, because the desire is real. It's not just to bang hot chicks. It's really, what if it could be this desire to really connect, to really have that experience? Well, when you understand that maybe sex is something greater than your selfish desire or a response to social programming that kind of feeds that cycle of keeping the sizzling steak in front of you, what if you could have a different relationship with beauty, with power? What if sex could be something else? So you could be like comfortable and present and cool around beautiful women that you used to really want to be with, but then they're actually opening up and flirting actually leads to kissing and making out and relationships and judgment-free fun and sexual freedom and all of this awesomeness. So the energy worlds and the psychic stuff, it's pretty insane, and men get to experience that. Like at my live events, we're doing the natural grounding, we're doing like powerful energy work with it, and the transformation is like in some cases 1,000 times faster than any other path because I can just work directly on them. And you know, I've studied from Chinese grandmasters and I'm Reiki master, and the energy work is just, it's insane. So whew, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about what guys could benefit from you specifically. If you're offering any coaching or any products, maybe you could tell us a little bit about those things.
Yeah. I do have, there's a program we have called Sexual Presence Transformation. So that's a group coaching program. It helps take men through this process of releasing these deep subconscious programs. And it can be different for every man, like sex equals porn, sex equals when I'm in a long-term relationship. You know, all these things could be holding them back. So sexual presence transformation, it really works with going through that like a faster immersion. That's a program that we have men from around the world in. All of the men who are active in that program have broken through with women that I'm aware of, and like getting physical, that type of stuff, more natural confidence, all of that. So that's a program that's available. If someone's interested in that, just tell me that Cliff sent you. If you're interested in joining Sexual Presence Transformation, usually I'm offering like free strategy sessions just so men can get more insight into their situation and what might be blocking them. So that's kind of like the main thing I've been doing. I do have the getsexualattraction.com mailing list. But the live experiences, when we have those are just something else. So yeah, if men want to reach out to me, they can get a free 30-minute strategy session, and we can just dig into his situation and just tell me that Cliff sent you.
Well, as I do, if somebody does get in touch with Rion, and maybe you want to give them like your main website or something else that they or an email address or somewhere where they should go to. If you contact Rion and end up buying something from him, either coaching or whatever, and send me and him an email just sort of saying that you did that because you found out about him through this webinar through Cliff's List, and I will in addition send you a free Cliff's List bonus product as a thank you for having done that.
Yep, so they can reach me with that. You could just email, the best email is simply dreamcorepro@hotmail.com. So DREAMCOREPRO, dreamcorepro@hotmail.com. And they can, or just add me to Facebook, the Rion Williams account on Facebook, and Facebook chat message me. And then, yeah, we can take it from there. So, yeah.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for, giving us some of your time and some of your experience and telling us a little bit about what you do. And I'm sure a lot of guys are going to be very intrigued by this and follow up on it. And hopefully we'll be changing a few lives from this little webinar here.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate this, Cliff. To be able to reconnect like this. So thank you so much for like inviting me, and just be open to new experiences for the men who are listening. Maybe re-listen to this entire thing, because there is a lot to soak in. And again, you can reach out to me and dreamcorepro@hotmail.com, and just tell me Cliff sent you. So thanks so much.
That's great. Well, thanks again for the time, and I will end this now. So we'll be talking to you again soon, I'm sure. Take care.